and now welcome back to Story Detectives for Goose in a Hole. And this is video 3 where we're going to have a look at this week's worksheets. So hopefully these are on your home zone, or we may have emailed them to you. Please do let me know if you have any trouble accessing them. And we'll just have a look at what I would like you to do for this week's worksheets. So we have our word of the week, and as you know, you'll need to write in here the meaning, a synonym and an antonym, and all that information is on video 2. And then use the word worried in a sentence yourself. See what you can write about using the word worried. I'll look forward to seeing your answers. Now, when we get on to the second section here, I've written some information about plural nouns. So have you noticed in the last 3 stories, we've had some unusual plurals. So when we had the Cuddly Dudley story, we had one penguin, but when Dudley was joined by all his brothers and sisters, we said penguins. We just had to add an S there to make the word penguin plural. So if we've got more than one penguin, we call them penguins, and we just add an S. But when we have the word goose, to make that one plural, we have one goose, but we have 2 geese. You don't say gooses, you say geese. That is an irregular plural. So if you look through the sheets, I will explain to you. Generally speaking, most plurals, you just add an S. So the rule number 1 about plurals is most of the time you just add an S. So you've got cat, and the plural would be cats. You've got house, and the plural would be houses. Now that rule changes if the word ends in an S, a double S, an SH, a CH, an X, or a Z. If it ends in any of those letters, we need to add an ES to the end. So here's some examples of that. Bus becomes buses. We've added the ES. And church, that ends in a CH. So that was one of the ones up there that it said. Church, the plural becomes churches. We have to have an ES on the end. And the word tax, because it ends in an X, like we've just learned there, will become taxes. So there's some other rules about plurals, and we're going to have a look at those next week. But they're the 2 main ones, and that will cover nearly all the nouns. So most of them you just add an S. If it ends in an S, double S, SH, CH, X, or Z, then you need to add an ES. But as well as all the rules, there are some nouns that do not follow the rules at all, and we call these irregular plurals. So here's an example. Goose, we don't say gooses, we say geese. The plural of goose is geese. And if we have one person, we don't say we have many persons, we say people. So there's one person, but there might be 10 people. So again, that's an irregular plural. And another common one is mouse. You don't say we have 1 mouse and 2 mouses. You say 1 mouse and 2 mice. Now, unfortunately, there's no rule about these, so you just sort of have to learn them as you go along. And some of them trip up adults and people who've been speaking English for years. Some people still get these occasionally mixed up. But some of these common ones you'll just get used to when you sort of hear them. So let's see if you can follow the information that we've learnt there and see if you can write the plural for these words. Some of them easy. We've got the word car. So right here, the plural, which would be cars. That's a very straightforward word. You just need to add an S. But some of them might be a little bit tricky. Box. Did that follow the rule? What we have to do is double check here. It ends in an X. So this one we have to add an ES at the end. So I've got some words here from our recent stories. I've got the cute word waddle print. I've got gosling, pond, and some other words here from the stories we've done recently. See if you can fill them in and do the plurals on there. And finally, next, there's loads more to go. This is our punctuation practice. You should be very used to this by now. We'll just concentrate on this for the next couple of weeks, and then we'll go on to something else. But just see if you can finish off these sentences and put in the punctuation that's been taken out. And now we're going to look at some more research. Now, for the last couple of weeks, you did 2 fabulous research projects for me on penguins and geese. So you should be quite familiar now with doing a bit of research, looking up on the internet, maybe looking on YouTube and seeing some videos. So this time we're actually going to do some research about our author, Judith Kerr, the lady who has written the last 2 books that we've looked at, which was Goose in a Hole and The Other Goose. She's written those 2 books, and we've done some other stories that she's written recently. And next week we're going to do another one by her, The Crocodile Under the Bed. So we're going to have a little look at Judith Kerr's life story. So if you go onto YouTube, there are some lovely videos about her life, because unfortunately she died recently, so there has been a few things in the news to explain about her very interesting life. If you look up on Google, maybe on Wikipedia, you'll also find some information about Judith Kerr. And then we have a quiz with 10 questions asking you what you've learnt about Judith's life. And as I say, she had a very interesting life. She had to escape from Germany before the Second World War because her family were Jewish, and they were concerned that they wouldn't be safe if they stayed in Germany. And she ended up moving to a few other places and ending up in England, where she got married and had children, and then started working as an author and illustrator. So there's some of the questions here. For example, what charity organisation did Judith Kerr work for during the Second World War? So if you can find that out. What honour did Judith receive from the Queen of England in 2012? So see if you can find this information out. There's 10 questions there altogether. And then we have our story map. I know you're quite used to these by now, but I thought it's quite a good one to fill in. See if we can put the characters, the setting, again, beginning, middle and end. This is very good at helping you organise your thoughts and look at the arc and the plot of a story, and see how it goes from a setting at the beginning. Usually there's some sort of problem in the middle and then a solution at the end. So have a look at that. And now we did some comparing and contrasting last week about Cuddly Dudley and Katerina the Goose. And you also did some research about penguins and geese. So what we're going to do this time is have a look at how we can compare and contrast our facts about penguins and geese using a Venn diagram. Now you should be quite familiar with Venn diagrams because we have used them many times before in class. They look a little bit like this. I'm sorry, this is not the best example of a Venn diagram, but it was the best one I could find to put into the pages here. What you need to do is find out some facts about penguins and about geese and write them here. Now, if a fact, for example, I'll give you, penguins and geese are both birds. So if it's a fact that applies to both of the animals, then you put it in the middle, the intersection here, which applies to both. So there's an example that I've given you on here. Geese can fly, but penguins can't fly. So you could write here, geese can fly. Penguins only live in the southern hemisphere. So you could write here, perhaps only live in the southern hemisphere. But both of them are birds, so you could put birds in the middle there. See if you can give me a couple of examples so I can see that you've understood how Venn diagrams work and that you can relate some of your research to this question. And then on to the fun activities. We have a word search here using some words from the story. And here we have some handwriting practice as well, using some words from the story. So have a go at doing those if you want to practice your handwriting or, of course, your reading, because this, of course, helps with your reading. And then we have another one of these fun trails. This time you've got a little family of ducks who've got lost from the pond. So see if you can get them to find their way back to the pond. Maybe you can pretend that these are tunnels that they've got to go up through under the ground. And another little maze with a duck on. I know these mazes are very good fun. They're good fun for your, they're good for your problem solving. They're good for visual tracking, visual discrimination skills, and of course your fine motor skills and pencil control. So have a go at that. And now, I love these. These are my favourite. This is a spot the difference. So have a look at these two pictures and see if you can spot any differences. I'm not sure how many are there actually, so tell me how many you've spotted and we'll have a look at that in the answers on the next video. And then to finish off, I've just got a nice goose on a pond as a colouring page there. So all your budding artists can colour that in as neatly as you can, again, to practice your fine motor skills and your pencil control. So there we go, there's the worksheets for Goose in a Hole. Just to reiterate, you certainly do not have to do them all. If you're in the red group, I would like you to challenge yourself and see if you can do as many as possible. And I would love it, especially if you could do some of the research about Judith Kerr. If you are in blues and purples, you can have a look and see which ones you think you can have a go at. I think that definitely the last page is the word search, etc. You can all have a go at that. And actually, although it looks tricky, I think all of you can do the plurals as well. It does look tricky, but I'm sure that's actually easier than you really think. So see if you can do that as well. Okay, thank you guys. I'll come back with video 4 in a minute where I explain what I would expected in your answers. Thank you. Bye-bye.